After the racist rant,
nobody's blaming me because I'm asleep.
China talks peace.
China and India are two of the world's oldest civilizations. They are not born rivals.
From Seven Sins charge to mutual respect message.
But there is more than enough room in Asia for the Chinese dragon and the Indian elephant to dance together.
India too hopeful of a solution. 2 months on, Doklam standoff eases. China talks peace. The top story on Epicenter tonight.
65 days on, the Himalayan standoff at Doklam continues, and so does Chinese provocation. China's Western Theatre Command has now conducted military drills in a secret location in an attempt to intimidate India. Chinese patrols have attacked Indian soldiers at Pegongso in Ladakh, but New Delhi is standing firm. The message from India is clear: your bullying will not work. That is our top focus on Epicenter this evening. Bringing perspective to the story on Epicenter is Lieutenant General D.S. Hooda. He's the former Northern Army commander. He is joining us from Panchkula this evening. But before we get him in, a look at the other big stories that are developing this evening. It's finally done. 7 months after a bitter divorce, the OPS-EPS camps unite with the blessings of the BJP. OPS settles for Deputy Chief Minister's post, but will be the boss of the party. Expected next, the sacking of Sasikala and family from the AIADMK. After 9 years, Colonel Purohit, the main accused in the 2008 Malegaon blast that left 7 people dead, has finally got bail. He maintains he was a military intelligence mole who was tasked with infiltrating terror organizations. He will now rejoin the army for the duration of his bail period.
3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
2 kan?
2. 1, 2.
1 kan?
1 ye lah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1 kan बताना मुझे.
And this heart-wrenching video of a child being slapped for not studying properly. We are looking at why this video has gone viral and what it says about new age parenting. First up, I want all of you to take a look at this video we are about to play out for you. This is a little girl, 4 years old, who is being taught to count from 1 to 5. Now, she can't seem to grasp these numericals. She's pleading with who? I mean, we don't have a clear picture on who the person on the other side of the camera is, but I'm assuming this is a parent. She's pleading with a parent, and then something happens that breaks your heart. Take a look.
2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
2 kan?
2. 1, 2, 3.
1 kan?
1 ye lah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1 kan बताना मुझे.
प्यार से पढ़ाई प्यार.
हाँ प्यार से पढ़ाऊंगी. 1 बता. 1 बता. अच्छा हेडेक हो रहा है. 1 बना.
तो प्यार से कहिए.
हाँ 1 बता. 1 से पढ़.
1,
हाँ
2, 3, 4.
आवाज निकाल के पढ़ यहाँ से. 1 से
1,
आवाज से.
3.
ये 3 है. ये
नहीं 4 है.
4 है. ये
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसे 5 है.
5 है. ये
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. कहने तो कुछ भी नहीं है.
2 क्या है?
Now, parenting can sometimes be a very frustrating experience. Parents are allowed once in a while to go a little crazy, but hitting a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old cannot and should not be normalized. Natasha Badhwar is a mother of 3. She is the author of My Daughter's Mum. She is joining me on the show this evening. Natasha, most of us have grown up at a time when spare the rod and spoil the child was the ruling philosophy. But I always assumed that new age parenting was different, that hitting your child was not okay. Maybe it was okay for my parents' generation. It is not okay for my generation.
Well, the truth is that it's never been okay, right? It's never been okay in any generation, whether it was Charles Dickens' times, or whether it was times before that, or whether it was my generation or this little child's generation. And yet, it's also been a truth that corporal punishment has never totally, gone out of style. It's always something that parents have fallen back on, educationists have fallen back on, whether in the heat of the moment or whether because they really believe that, beating a child is the fastest way to making her learn her numbers. So it's tragic that despite the strides made in modern psychology, in the kind of parenting culture that has changed, it truly has changed, and yet it hasn't changed enough, has it?
No, clearly it hasn't changed enough. If it did, we wouldn't have seen this sort of video come out, and we wouldn't have seen, the sort of reaction we have seen to this video. It's ranged from horror to humor. Natasha, do stay on with us. I want to ask you what it says about us when a video like this goes viral and the sort of comments it invites. But let me go across to Parvati Kashyap, who's joining us from Visakhapatnam this evening. Parvati, please go ahead. I'm assuming that, like most people, you've seen this video as well. Your first thoughts?
I have also seen this video, ma'am. And then let me go back. Before I can be a teacher or maybe a mother, I was a child too. Even I had this type of, treatment given. And then the word that is being used over there, that is torture. I think that should not be the word. Okay, because like when the child comes to know about these things, like it is a torture or something, and when she is aware of things, she will definitely think that it is a torture. While the mother has taught her, and maybe she must have not listened, that the mother just gave a small touch on her cheek. She did not beat her. That's what I saw in the video there. She did not beat, she gave just a touch. She must have got scared somewhere else that she is bringing forth, or maybe in her playfulness or something. But this is just a good relationship between a mother and a child. I think that relationship should not be disturbed. It is just out of love that the mother is teaching. And within 2 minutes, the mother and the child will be okay. It is all this discussion that will be left behind.
This is, I agree with you to some extent, Parvati, that, this is a mother and a daughter. It's okay for parents to sometimes get frustrated. But is hitting okay is the question. And look at the child. It breaks your video, and I'm going to show that video to our viewers once again. The child is saying, "Pyar se padhana, mere kaan mein dard ho raha hai." And all of us have been whacked. I've been whacked as well as when I was a child, and I think we grew up okay without any sort of damages. But this just breaks your heart. Natasha, I'm going to come back to you. Parvati, thank you very much for calling us. Let's just go back and see this video once again. It's heart-wrenching, but I do think it tells us something about ourselves.
2, 3, 4, 5.
फिर से सुना.
1, 2.
2 का है?
2.
हाँ.
1, 2, 3.
1 का है?
1 ये रहा.
हाँ.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1 का है बताना मुझे.
प्यार से पढ़ाई प्यार.
हाँ प्यार से पढ़ाऊंगी. 1 बता. 1 बता. अच्छा हेडेक हो रहा है. 1 बना.
तो प्यार से कहिए.
हाँ 1 बता. 1 से पढ़. हाँ. आवाज निकाल के पढ़ यहाँ से. 1 से. आवाज से.
3.
ये 3 है ये?
नहीं 4 है.
4 है ये?
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसे 5 है.
5 है ये?
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. क्या कुछ भी नहीं है.
2 क्या है?
Natasha, this is a video you've told me you haven't seen because of what you read. It was way too distressing for you to actually go and see the entire video. Now, the reaction we have seen to it on your Twitter timeline as well as others as well has ranged from horror to humor. What does the video going viral tell you about ourselves?
You're right. The reactions have ranged from horror to humor, but the reaction that really shocks me, that really hurts me, bothers me, gets to me, is acceptance. You know, when a mother comes, our parent comes on television and says, in 2 minutes, this mother and child will be okay. Man, that is the worst fallacy that we have been feeding ourselves. That we can hurt our children, we can hurt them, we can terrorize them, we can beat them, we can put fear into their hearts and they'll be fine. Why? Because we are fine. Hey, we are not fine. If you are unable to teach your child 1 to 10, if you're unable to let a 4-year-old go play out in the evening, not bother with numbers, if she's not in the mood for it, that child is defying her mother. She is saying once in a while, ye kuch nahi hai, mujhe nahi padhna hai. You know, but if you're unable to let go, if the bully inside you is unleashed on your own child, that is the reaction that an adult is showing to the violence that she may have herself, suffered from in her childhood. So we're not okay. This whole, this consistently repeating this thing, I was fine, I didn't get maternity leave, I didn't have any trouble, I never breastfed my child, my child has turned out fine, I was bashed up by my parents, I'm okay, so-and-so was sexually abused, she turned out fine. You know, this kind of completely invisibilizing the pain of the victim is the biggest injustice that we are doing to ourselves. I'm not saying that parents who lose it in the heat of the moment need to be prosecuted, or that that they should be that everybody should gang up against them. We know parenting is hard, but you need help. You don't need to take it out on a child who is innocent, who is helpless, who cannot retaliate, and you can be sure she will retaliate one day.
Brinda, DK is joining us from Bengaluru this evening on the phone line as well. Brinda, go ahead. What is it that's distressing to you in this video? To me, it's distressing at multiple levels, but I want your reading on how you're seeing it.
At the first instance, I feel an outrage, and I have to state that this is horrific. It is not acceptable at all, not acceptable. One does not have to be bothered about what the mother is trying, whether the mother and the child will patch up later or they will not patch up later. All that is secondary. You can see in this video, the child is pleading, the child is asking for mercy, the child is requesting you, प्यार से पढ़ाओ, कान में दर्द है, सर दर्द हो रहा है, which means the child is looking at the mother as a taskmaster. The child is looking at her mother as somebody who is going to punish her. Whatever the lady from Visakhapatnam had to say, I don't agree. Maybe yes, in today's world, with reality show and the competition being cutthroat, this mother is trying to teach the child and say that, okay, you come first in class. But we know, and the mothers and parents have to be taught that this affects the child psychologically for the rest of her life or his life. There is no doubt about it. We also know that the child will not simply start hating math and counting, but will probably start hating everything around her, an adult figure. This is fear, and this is not disciplining. The other bit is, I have not seen the Twitter, but you said that it ranges from being horrific to humor. What humor can anybody see in this video baffles me. I cannot see a hint of humor over here. I can only see a lot of pain, lot of trauma, a lot of hurt. And if this is the way we are going to teach our children, by treating them in this manner, I'm worried, I'm concerned that we will be bringing up probably monsters, probably people who are accepting everything, probably a slave mentality, and somebody who's not going to actually grow up with their own potentials. Their talents will all die. And I do not accept it. I think the lady has to be called, counseled, reprimanded, saying, this is not the way you teach. Tell others also. Probably this is what is happening. Cool, I don't know.
Exactly. That's the point. Brinda, thank you very much for bringing up that point. And I'm going to put that question to Shireen Vakil, who's a child rights activist, also joining us on the phone line. Shireen, before I play that, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching video once again, because I do think it says something about us, I want to ask you, this is just one parent. And, no one is trying to make a villain out of her. We are not saying she's the evil stepmother hitting her little child, etc., etc. But, children being hit it's something that is common not only in Indian homes, but across Indian schools as well. It may be against the law, may be against the right to education, but it's still very much a reality across India. How do you deal with that?
It is very much a reality across the country, and I mean I think that there needs to be much more awareness, and I think that the fact that people equate corporal punishment with discipline, and the two things are different. It doesn't mean that that you don't need to children don't need discipline, but there are very different ways of making sure that you discipline your child or teach them right for wrong. I mean, this, I just saw it briefly, is really horrific, because it is, I think, like your sort of line says, it's really like torture. And it actually, the child is pleading, and, it's quite a smart child, actually. Because she's trying every way she can, but it shows you that, I mean, the child has no recourse. And the problem is that, one, it points to the fact that, you urgently need parenting. I mean, we urgently need to be talking to parents and some protective mechanism for children, so that this child is not just this child, and many others like her are not subjected to such forms of violence.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to request my producers to once again put that video out for our viewers to see it once again, and then possibly call us on what they find is so horrifying about it. Let's just play that video for our viewers once again.
2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
2 kind?
2. 1, 2, 3.
1 kind?
1 year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1 kind बताना मुझे.
प्यार से पढ़ाई प्यार.
हाँ प्यार से पढ़ाऊंगी. 1 बता. 1 बता. अच्छा हेडेक हो रहा है. 1 बना.
तो प्यार से कहिए.
हाँ 1 बता. 1 से पढ़.
1.
हाँ. आवाज निकाल के पढ़ यहाँ से. 1 से. आवाज से.
3.
ये 3 है ये?
नहीं 4 है.
4 है ये?
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसे 5 है.
5 है ये?
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है. कहने तो कुछ भी नहीं है.
2 क्या है?
Natasha, God knows parenting is tough. You're a mother of 3. You know more than anyone else, more than me, how parenting is a very tough job. You're allowed to lose your cool once in a while. And again, I'm saying this is just one mother, and no one is trying to make her out into some villainous figure who is beating up her child. Is this at one level a manifestation of urban stress as well? Most mothers, working mothers in this case, we do not know if she's a working mother or not. You come back home tired. I don't know, the frustration. Sometimes, the child will have to bear with it. Is this urban stress?
Sure, parenting is stressful. Sure, there's urban stress. But, being violent with one's child is not a new phenomena. It's not a new phenomena. So many amongst us, so many of our peers older than us will tell you that they were regularly beaten up by their mothers, and they were stay-at-home mothers, or they were regularly beaten up by their fathers or their grandfathers or grandmothers or older siblings. So violence in the family is not something new. I don't think we need to look at new reasons or justifications for it. We totally need to acknowledge that, that we all need help to figure out. We need a new language for child rearing, for the family. This whole thing that, this is how it's always happened, and it seems to have worked out fine, hasn't got us anywhere. We've got mobs on the streets today that are, happy to lynch somebody for no reason. We've got people who are standing by and watching it, not stopping it. And in the same way, we have a mother who's not only beating up her child, she's also making a video of it. How that video has found its way on the internet, we don't know. But somehow, it's not just a sense of horror that is making that video go viral. it's being shared with a certain sense of voyeurism. There is an amount of voyeurism. Oh, what's the big deal? It happened to me too. Ha ha ha, look at her. And where has this sadism come from? I mean, you know, it's just the whole cycle repeating itself again and again, and now being fed by technology in a sense. You know, we've got access to it. All we have to do is press, you know, one forward, and it goes out to our entire broadcast list, and we start our day watching violence. Not only this video, but many other videos that are of a similar nature. And clearly, as a society, as smaller units within society, we need to reflect, we need to help each other, we need to look at where is this violence coming from, and you know, why is this the outlet for it targeted towards the the most helpless person we can find, whether it's within the family or outside on the streets.
Do stay on with us. Shadman Namazi is joining me from Bengaluru. Shadman, is there a new language that is required for parenting, as Natasha puts it? It's not okay to normalize treating a child like this. We tend to normalize it. We tend to say, "Hamare saath bhi hua hai. We were okay."
No. Why should it be "Hamare saath bhi hua"? Hamare saath nahi hua. It didn't happen to me, at least, when I was studying in the 50s and 60s. That lady, that mother, she is torturing the child, and she's taking a video of it. If she was in the United States, she would have gone immediately to jail for a couple of years. I think here also she should go to jail at least for a month. And the child must be, otherwise the child must be taken away from her. Definitely taken away. There's no arguing. I've been listening to all the ladies talking. To cut a long story short, this has to be. Where has this happened? In which city?
Sir, we are not exactly sure what city this has happened in. We are not very sure which city this has happened in. So,
have you identified the lady?
No, sir. We have not identified the lady, and as I said, making her the villain of the piece is not the idea for putting this video out. It is just to tell parents it's not okay to normalize hitting your children.
But you tell parents, very good, you put it out, but she is a villain. She has got some depression, and she's got some depression, or she's got aggression in her.
Okay.
To beat her child, and also to take a video of it. It's a shame.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'd like to know which city it is.
But she's also out in
I don't know, but
which is socially sanctioned.
Yeah, Natasha, go ahead. You're saying it is socially sanctioned, so she is doing what she thinks is okay.
You know, what I was saying was, she's also got an impunity that is socially sanctioned. If she comes face to face with the fact that her child can be taken away from her, that she can be forever separated from the child, she will be a very, very traumatized mother. It's not an option she has ever considered, that, you know, that actually hitting your child is so extreme, is considered so bad in some places that she can actually lose her child. I think she doesn't realize that can also be a reality. So I wouldn't agree that every place where violence is taking place within the family, the only solution is to separate the mother, the parents and the children, because that's not a solution. The state is not exactly better off than the individual parent. But as a society, we certainly need to have a conversation. We need to hear more and more. We need to speak out more and more and say, this is not okay. This is an extreme form of violence, but there are so many types of casual violence. There is verbal violence. There is casual sexism that is targeted towards our children, boys and girls, which also is supposed to be normalized, and we need to start speaking up and saying this is not okay. We don't want to push our boys and our girls into these boxes where they grow up completely emotionally stunted.
I'm going to bring in Shanta Sinha on the broadcast as well, but before that I'm going to request my producer to play that video out once again, if you could please.
2, 3, 4, 5.
फिर से सुना.
1, 2.
2 का है?
2. 1, 2, 3.
1 का है?
1 ये रहा. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
वन क्या है बताना मुझे?
प्यार से पढ़ाई प्यार।
हाँ प्यार से पढ़ाऊंगी। वन बता, वन बता। अच्छा हेडेक हो रहा है, वन बना।
तो प्यार से कहिए।
हाँ वन बता, वन से पढ़। हाँ आवाज निकाल के पढ़ यहाँ से, वन से आवाज से।
3
ये 3 है, ये
नहीं 4 है।
4 है, ये
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है, ऐसे 5 है।
5 है, ये
नहीं कुछ भी नहीं है, कहने तो कुछ भी नहीं है।
2 क्या है?
Shanta Sinha is the former NCPCR chairperson joining us on the phone line on this broadcast. Shanta Sinha, to me, you know, there are problems at multiple level as far as this video is concerned. You know, a viewer just called us saying that if this was the US or if it was Norway, the child would have been taken away from the parent. And I think Natasha is very rightly arguing that it's not like the state in India is any better equipped to handle the child. I mean, why is this video so distressing to you? It's gone viral. It's gone viral for a reason. What are you most distressed about when you see it?
Let me tell you that I'm just hearing the violence. I've not seen it, and even that is so distressing. And I must tell you that we really in this country do not have the culture of non-violence as far as children are concerned. There is such an unequal power relation even between the parent and the child, the teacher and the child. We will have to think of the child as an equal. That's the basic thing that has to be done. Secondly, when you find that the child, there is a violence on the child of any kind, we cannot think of it as a private issue, a family issue, and ignore it. We will have to be shocked, we will have to be outraged, even if it happens to your niece, to your nephew, anyone. I think it has to be brought to the notice of the parent, and I would think even authorities. The Juvenile Justice Act does have the Child Welfare Committee, and we will have to bring it to the notice of the Child Welfare Committee. And I do not see why the child has to live with that mother. She will have to be taken to a foster care or to another trusted guardian till such time that the mother is ready to take care of the child. I'm not saying separate the child completely altogether, but unless the mother is prepared, counseled, sometimes even punished, I think that not risk the child to be continuing parent. Okay. And we will have to show that the child is in a safe position, safe place, and is completely taken care of. All this is there in the Juvenile Justice Act. We must know what the Act is about and start putting it into practice.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shanta Sinha, for joining us on this broadcast. Natasha, as I wrap the show, is there something you're a mother of 3 yourself. Is there something you would want to say
add?
to this?
Yeah,
mother?
I do want to add. Yeah. You know, I do want to add one thing. I think we should not fall in the trap of seeing this as an isolated case. This is not just one mother in India who has bashed up her child on one particular evening. Violence against children, violence against women, violence in the family is rampant. Violence in schools is rampant. Once in a while a video will come out, we will outrage, but that doesn't mean that this is the only time that this kind of violence has happened. I don't mean to condone it in any way. What I'm saying is that as a group, as a society, as a government, as a state and civil society combination, we need to have a conversation about violence against children and against women, against men as well. And we need to use this video, this incident as a catalyst to create that conversation, to create counseling, to talk about healing within the family.
Last comments to Anila Singh, she's spokesperson of the BJP, joining me, I'm assuming, in the role of a mother and not the spokesperson of the ruling party. Anila, please go ahead.
Absolutely. I just want to give my input as a mother and as a social activist rather than spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. This video is heart-wrenching, but it is followed rampantly by many of the parents. And reason what I think is academic pressure. Why I always think that why Denmark kids are so happy. They are being the happiest kids in the world. Maybe their school going age is 7 years, and in our country, our kids are forced to go to school at the age of 2 or 2.5 years. And pressure and the peer pressure, they want their kids to perform very good in their class because then they can get good admission in good schools in class 1. I mean, I'm not able to express my emotions. That how heart-wrenching this video is, but I think we in India, we really have to do some major change so that children can suffer like this.
Okay, Anila Singh, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much, Natasha Badhwar, for joining us on the broadcast. To me, what is most distressing is that I'm getting a lot of viewer reactions to say, this is hardly a story. Why are you even talking about it? Don't you have anything else to talk about? To me, that is the story, that there just doesn't seem to be enough outrage about a little 4-year-old being treated the way she's being treated and then being hit. Parents are allowed to lose their cool. They are allowed to go a little crazy once in a while. But is this allowed? Should hitting a child, treating a child like this be normalized by saying, ye hamare saath bhi hua hai, it's okay, it happens, this is normal, we are not Norway? Something to think about. With that video, I'm slipping into a very quick break on the show. Coming up next, the Doklam standoff has entered its 3rd month. Is the dragon running out of fire? That is something we are talking about in just a bit. Do stay with us. Welcome back. 65 days on, Indian and Chinese troops continue to face off at Doklam. Now, while the actual site of the standoff has seen no escalation, the brawl between Indian and Chinese patrols at Pegangso Lake in Ladakh on the 15th of August is a clear indication that the Chinese will needle India across the 4,057-kilometer line of actual control. Now, the Army Chief General Bipin Rawat is in Ladakh today to review operational preparedness. His message to his troops is clear: be firm, do not withdraw. Take a look. 15th August 2017. As Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation on India's Independence Day, this is what a Chinese patrol at Pegangso Lake in Ladakh provoked. A fist fight that spiraled into stone pelting between Indian and Chinese troops 14,000 feet above sea level. This video, taken by an Indian soldier standing at a height, details how the two patrols came face to face during a banner drill on the northern bank of the lake. Suddenly, the Chinese patrol commander takes shelter behind his men while one of the PLA soldiers launches an attack on the Indian patrol commander. Provoked, Indian troops react with equal aggression. 6 days later, Army Chief General Bipin Rawat is in Ladakh for a 3-day visit to review preparedness along the 800-kilometer border that Ladakh shares with China. His message to his troops is simple: be firm, do not withdraw, do not provoke. That order is being followed at the India-China-Bhutan tri-junction in Doklam as well, where the standoff has entered its 3rd month. Amidst cold winds and rains, 250 soldiers each from China and India are eyeball to eyeball. A rattled Beijing has launched aggressive propaganda through its media, threatening New Delhi with war, but India has stood firm. In this battle of nerves, India is a clear winner. In yet another intimidation tactic, China's Western Theatre Command conducted war drills last week at a secret location. 10 PLA units, including aviation units and armoured forces, participated in these drills that, according to the Chinese media, are meant to strike awe in India. But the Indian security establishment remains unimpressed.
अब इस समय थोड़ा एक डोकलाम है, डोकलाम में एक डेडलॉक भारत और चाइना के बीच चल रहा है। लेकिन मैं समझता हूं कि उसका समाधान जल्दी निकलेगा। चीन भी अपनी तरफ से सकारात्मक पहल करेगा।
India's refusal to be intimidated by the dragon has taken Beijing by surprise. General D.S. Hooda is the former GOC of the Northern Command. He is joining me on Epicenter this Monday evening from Panchkula. General Hooda, thank you very much for being here on the show. The assessment within the Indian security establishment is that India and China will not go to war over Doklam. That's very clear. But then why are we seeing the sort of aggression we have seen at Pagangso Lake and the recent military drills that China has conducted?
See, Shreya, I agree with the assessment that I don't think India and China will go to war, but I still think we need to be careful and we need to watch the situation carefully. And I say this because the longer the standoff gets extended, you could have tensions in other parts of the border. Now, while the Pagangso incident that you talked about is not directly linked to Doklam, but the fact is it's reflective of how troops are along the LAC are now wary of each other. They're suspicious. They're a little on the edge. And this is summer. You will see patrols of the two sides coming in contact with each other. You might see greater aggressiveness on both sides. And some of this, hopefully doesn't go further, but it could. And therefore, I think we need to watch the situation carefully still, keep our powder dry and make sure that our overwatch on the LAC is still very firm.
General Hooda, Doklam, many would say, is emblematic of growing Chinese unilateralism that is destabilizing. I'm sure the world is seeing it. Countries like Japan have pledged support. But ultimately, we have to realize this is our problem. How do you think, how long will it last? Winter, beyond that? Because the last standoff, I believe, the longest standoff between Indian and Chinese troops lasted for around 8 months. Is that how long you think this one will last as well?
See, nobody knows how long it will last. If we are thinking, that the winter will come and that somehow will ease the problems of the two countries, and they will, the winters will force us to withdraw. I don't think that is the case, because in these heights and in these areas, I myself have been posted to Nathula, which is very close to Doklam, and we remain there through the winters. So I don't see how winters or the weather will force us to withdraw. I think both sides have to come to some solution and find a solution. Otherwise, I see it continuing for as long as it takes.
General Hooda, the Chinese government has used its media to bombard us with what I'm calling propaganda missiles, from breaking up 1962 to threatening war to even releasing a bizarre video called the Seven Sins. Now suddenly over this weekend we see the Chinese media backpedaling. So now here is a video that is out there that has been put on Twitter where you have the Chinese talking about peace, where you have the Chinese saying, the need of the hour is for the two countries to sit together and resolve Doklam. What do you attribute this backpedaling to?
See, one is I see I see it as an encouraging sign that the kind of rhetoric that was coming from Chinese government is something that I am yet to see. Governments, diplomats actually don't resort to such rhetoric, and I think there is probably a realization on the Chinese side that this kind of public hectoring is actually reducing options, diplomatic options, and even space for them. So I think they would have realized that in case they need to find a resolution to this, they need to step back a little on on their public posturing that they were doing. Let me also tell you, Shreya, if it gets into a shooting match, there are going to be no winners in this. The Indian Army is going to give it as good as it gets. It's no longer any kind of a pushover. And I think that realization is also there among the Chinese government that there are limits to how much they can push us. So it's better that quiet diplomacy takes over. It's better all this public rhetoric shuts down. As it is, I think what has happened in Doklam has had a damaging impact on India-China bilateral relations. What the long-term implications are, we don't know. But I think the faster that the Chinese ease off on this, the better it will be for both the countries.
General Hooda, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show and get your perspective on stories that are developing, especially the story that has been developing in Doklam for the last 3 months now. Thank you very much for joining us and being here this evening. Prime Minister Modi, of course, travels to China for the BRICS summit on the 3rd. He'll be there from the 3rd to the 5th. Will we see a solution come out after that meeting? Remains to be seen. For the moment, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. Coming up next, something that will tell you how dangerous it can be to speak on your cell phones while you're walking. Do stay with us. Now, you all know that it is dangerous to use your cell phone while driving, yet we continue to do just that. A biker in China learned his lesson the hard way. Take a look. We are leaving you with those pictures. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow.
The video of this huge sinkhole opening up exactly at a zebra crossing is dramatic enough. It's not every day that you see the road collapse in front of your eyes. But it's followed by this man on a scooter who appears merrily oblivious to the gaping hole in the road as he talks on his cell phone. Of course, he falls right in. Chinese media reports say he wasn't seriously injured, even though the sinkhole was 6 feet deep and 32 feet wide. The man apparently climbed out without help in one piece and having learnt his lesson the hard way.